All right. I'm back with another real estate lunchbox. This is your host, Leon Duncan, hailing from the great state of Georgia. Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate you guys taking the time to actually check out this podcast. I know it could be a bunch of things you're doing. You could be doing a bunch of things anywhere. This is New Year's Eve evening. Well, New Year's Eve. And I can't let New Year's Eve go. Today we do the shows. Well, right now I'm doing the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think I'm going to switch it up to doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We know we want to add more. There's a bunch of things going on that I definitely love talking about. And I definitely want to hear your opinions on it. Please leave comments. You're welcome to share with me. Don't go crazy, and I won't go crazy on you. Treat me with respect, and I treat you with the same level of respect, my man. Yeah, but I got a couple good things I want to talk about today. We're going to talk about, of course, this daycare fraud taking place in Minnesota. We're going to talk about that. Man, I tell you, Somalians, boy, oh, you boys, y'all off the chain out this piece. Not to say all Somalians are bad, but you still got a lot of y'all that's misrepresenting the rest of y'all. Really bad. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about these 400 plus teenagers causing chaos at Atlantic Station in Atlanta. We want to talk about Fulton County's voter admission issue. They admitted Trump was right the whole time. Let's talk about the details on that. And like I said, the squatter epidemic is still growing. $2.5 million home, squatters on it, of course. And Atlanta Housing Authority executive indicted by the feds. Damn. Woo. Man, I tell you. All right. And we're going to cover a little bit of this Cali billionaire fraud issue. California, man, what's up there? It's a billionaire fraud issue. Y'all trying to fraud the billionaires with additional taxes, and you think that'll solve your problem. No, teaching these kids how to actually be creatives that contribute to society. And I'm not talking about content creator. I'm talking about whether they're an electrician, whether they're making and creating anything. No, you don't take from the people that were successful in order to penalize them and say, hey, give us some of your money. But we're going to talk some more about that, because I've just never been a fan of it. Never been a fan of getting money from rich people in order to pay for my bills. No, it's not rich people, man. It's getting money from people that creatively, I'd rather understand how they make money than go and take their money. That's just my perspective, and I may be different.
Congratulations. Well done.
But I'm different. You guys are smarter than me. You're right. I was the BC student that decided to do real estate and had some success. But like everything else, I questioned some of the things I did, and I still question it. That's one reason I did this Real Estate Lunchbox podcast. This reaction channel, that's why I'm doing this, because I truly believe a lot of people, we don't talk about what's required to be successful in this type of space. In any space, we don't talk about the fundamentals, the keys to success. We rather just talk about the bag. And there's nothing wrong with talking about the bag, but there is a way to get to the bag, and to not take that as something, to ignore that, to me, creates a sense of ignorance that's perpetuated in the Black community, and then also a disrespect towards those who actually took the time to make the bread, and whether you say they got it from their parents or whether you say they inherited it. I know I hear all of the different things that are said, but at the end of the day, they still got to provide value for you to say, hey, I'm going to download that app, or I'm going to watch Netflix, or I'm going to hop into an Uber, or I'm going to use that tool. The value is where everything lies. And so instead of teaching and preaching about value, we don't talk and we don't preach about how to create value, what good value looks like, and how to actually wow our people, our clients, our customers with great value so we can build a business. Now, if you like, subscribe, jump into the Patreon. I'm always going to talk and drop jewels content about real estate because I believe wholesaling real estate is a great way to sustain your income. Even when shit is crazy right now, I'm still getting calls from investors out of the country, not out the country. We ain't messing with you guys out the country, out of state that want to buy property in Atlanta, that want to buy property in the Atlanta metro area. They're looking for deals and I want to provide them with deals. So that's how I bring value. So if you're someone and you're watching this, you're listening to it, you need some funding, we got funding sources. If you just have some real estate questions and things like that you're trying to move on, I'm going to add a link to the main description where you can set up some time and we can talk about your real estate related issues. I'll be happy to bring 18 years of experience to it. My wife says I love to talk. So listen to me talk. All right. Listen to me talk. But the whole goal is I'm hoping that when everything is done, that you have a better understanding on how to actually not to be dependent on these people to put you on for real estate. You don't need no damn programs. You need YouTube, probably somebody to guide you. Patreon, I think, is $9.99. If that's breaking your pocket, then don't do it. But hey, drop a super chat and I'll shout you out. I appreciate it. Let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. We're going to first start with the Trump administration just decided, which is awesome, they're going to shut down the funding for healthcare, federal dollars going into Minnesota for healthcare. I'm sorry, for childcare. They're going to shut it down, okay? And that just came out this morning.
This morning, a federal investigation into alleged daycare fraud in Minnesota is growing, and the Trump administration says it's halting all federal child care payments to the state.
We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
Earlier this week, the Department of Homeland Security posting video of agents knocking on doors of more than 30 businesses around Minneapolis in an effort, it says, to root out fraud. Overnight, Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz saying President Trump was politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans.
There's no children inside this building.
It all comes after this viral video racked up more than 100 million views online.
Now, I want to add a little balance to this because I love what Nick Shirley's actually doing, going out here and doing the work where that a lot of the local municipalities that get the money and distribute the money, they're supposed to be doing it, but Nick is actually doing it. Shout out to Nick. Kudos. Listen, you're a warrior.
Congratulations. Well done.
All right. Now, there was one or two videos I did see where the Somalians, the person who was either over the business or the manager of the daycare was actually talking to Nick and was discussing the fact that the children come in the evening for his establishment after hours. So I did understand that because if you lived in Atlanta or not Atlanta, Riverdale, which is south of Atlanta, or any of these type of smaller cities that is considered more blue collar than anything else, these late night evening daycares, they do provide a service. So, but I would have loved for him to go back in the evening and check on, is that true? But what I do understand, and I've seen them pay videos of them allegedly paying the parents, I guess, kickbacks, or whoever they had that brought the kids in, kickbacks for allowing them to go on the roster and to collect the money. Now, is that true? I don't know. Okay. This is in no way do we say all Somalians are like this. And I've heard arguments stating, hey, the Somalians in Minnesota have built a huge community, and Trump and some of the right are very upset with that it's an issue having to do with their nationality, their skin color, that they're Muslim. I would say the Muslim portion is probably the closest to the point. Yes, you're right. I do believe Trump is coming after them because of the ties to the Muslim Brotherhood that's already been established, okay? Allegedly. We're going to say allegedly. Yeah, allegedly been established to the Muslim Brotherhood. And I think he's doing the right thing because you guys want to say it's not that he's being Islamic phobic, that the White House is being Islamic phobic. Let's be straight up and be clear with this right now. Radical Islam has no place in the West. Islam tries its best to actually fit into the West. But the idea for Islam in fitting in is actually replacing the people that are there with their ideology and their belief. They did it in sub-Saharan Africa with African towns, cities, countries that Arabs came into during the Crusades, prior to the Crusades, after the Crusades, and converted a lot of those African countries either by the sword converting over to Islam or either tax. So the Islam has no credible history of actually fitting into a society that's not Islamic. I don't care what you guys have to say about it. It's a fact, and history has already put it in there. We're not saying that every Somalian immigrant is radical Islamic, but we do already see what's going on in Somaliland. There are huge ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and to radical Islamic factions. So to say that Trump is being Islamophobic because he's coming after Somalians who are Islamic, I would say no. He's being Islamic cautious, okay? And it's a level of caution, and it does need to be addressed because we live in a country where you're not chased down based on your religion, but when your religion says that the West is evil, that America needs to be brought under heels, when your congresswoman is taking meetings with ambassadors from Somalia, when they're doing secret meetings and saying that we're doing this because in the future we want to put her into the position where she can advocate for Somalia on a larger scale in the United States government. We know what's going on, okay? And the issue, I did have a comment. What about Jews that do the same thing in United States? And I'm going to talk about that because one thing we know about the Jewish faith and Jews that come here, yeah, they may do this and advocate for Israel. Understandable. They're not standing there with the Islamic flag, with the Israeli flag in front of the American flag, waving the Israeli flag and cautioning and asking all Jews to vote for them on the pretense of their ethnicity. They're actually waving the American flag to better America, for them to vote for them, to make America a better place, and to be advocates for their community, which we understand I don't think that's a crazy thing, especially if I saw someone from my hood, from when I grew up in Philadelphia, making it to the NBA, I would go online and I would say, hey, grew up with him, great guy. I'm advocating for him to get put on to whatever team it may be. And I will be his advocate because I feel a connection to him. He grew up in Philly. I grew up in Philly. So we have that type of connection. At least to me, I would do that if he's a good person. Okay. If they're good people, if they're assholes and scumbuckets, it's not going to come. I'm not going to do it. But this is the argument that I've heard on the left in relation to what Trump is actually doing. And it's always, what about the Jews? What about what they've done in that? But they don't place their faith. They're not standing publicly holding and waving the flag, okay, for Israel ahead of the flag for the United States to say, vote for me, all Jews. Maybe there is some secret thing that has happened with one or two candidates. I don't know. If you got footage, you're welcome to send it to me. Email is in the description for this video in the main YouTube channel, and I would like to see it. I would listen to it. I definitely will. I would. But now Trump, in better judgment, I think this is really solid, turned around and he shut down all federal funding going to daycares in Minnesota, which is a smart thing to do. I think, and if you guys, I heard the other argument. What about the people that's not, suffering from this, blah, blah, blah. What about it? Unfortunately, it's like what I tell my kids sometimes, and this is a fact. We've seen it in school. You got bad apples that ruin the whole bunch, and that's it. Bad actors will shut down shit in a heartbeat, and this is what you're seeing. So I'm not going to say that I don't have any sympathy for them, but let's be honest. If we got bad actors and we got to shut it down, we got to shut it down. Unfortunately, that's it. Now, if you're someone that's upset about that and you feel that that's a bad move, leave your comment below. I'll definitely read it. But I do understand one thing, whether you're frustrated, whether there's single moms that need this and all of this, it goes back to your congressman, the person you put into power, the person you voted for down there in Minnesota, to appear in the Hill in DC and advocate for your municipality, your district, the state, the city. Guys, I find it hard to believe that they did not know this level of fraud existed. I find it hard to believe. And I know you guys don't like it, but you're dealing with pirates. You're still dealing with a culture that still has an enormous amount of piracy going on. Yeah, and it's the truth. It's the truth. It's just like any other culture. But in this case, it's not the black culture. It's a Somalian culture, okay? And yeah, you got doctors. You've got attorneys. I've heard that argument. We've got doctors, attorneys, philosophers, teachers, people that vary, nurses, people that have scaled to the highest levels of the American dream. Okay, and whatever they perceive that to be, or was told that it was. Yeah, we do have those, but guess what? The scammers came with you guys too. And if you don't clean up the scammers, somebody will. Okay, and in this case, Donald Trump is cleaning up the scammers. God, I can go on and on about this. You know when you messed with Trump, when you fucked with Trump, when you messed with him prior to this 2024 election, when they dragged him, you got to know that he will drag every situation, every person connected to it, everything that could possibly be dragged. And I'm not mad at him for it. I'm really not. When you shut down money going to my business because you don't like what I say, and you don't want him to be president, and I'm saying in general myself, but if I was him and he didn't want me to be president, I would drag you. Yes. No, we're not going to play politics as usual and say, oh, let's make up and be friends. No, we're mortal enemies. You dislike me, you're evil. And I can pray for you, which a lot of Christians said, we're going to pray for it. We should be praying for it. We should be helping. I can pray for you in my prayer closet, and I can make sure that all of this fraud that you're doing comes out at the same time. I can do that because if he doesn't do it, we can bet that as from the midterm going on to the next election, 2028, if a Democrat hits that office, God, it's going to disappear. It's going to disappear like money out of your paycheck. Okay, like the cash that's paid is going to disappear just like that, and you're going to be wondering what the heck happened. But guess what? Someone else is in power now, and they don't find this to be an important thing. Just like you were just about to elect a president, a VP, Tim Walz, to be VP, and he knows this crap is going on. Matter of fact, I think he was running because he wanted to distance himself from this.
Congratulations, well done.
Go ahead, man. All I can say is, oh no, man. But this does make for good content. You're the gift that keeps giving right now, Minnesota, Somalian community, Ilyan, Omar, Tim Walz. You are. Even when the news cycle changes, we're still going to talk about this because, damn, ain't no hustler that's been put in jail Ain't no drug dealer that's been put in jail that moved weight and trafficked people like you guys are doing there right now. I'm not. You guys are tapped so far into the federal government's pocket. I think we could possibly cover all of those people that Doge decided to lay off to cut budgets. We can bring their asses back when we get this money back. So if you don't think that that's an important thing, then hey, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.
Right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley, who describes himself as an independent journalist, says he went to 10 child care centers receiving federal and state subsidies and did not see children at the sites. State officials say many of the centers were previously investigated and no fraud was uncovered, adding 9 of the 10 daycare centers featured in the video are still operating and receiving taxpayer subsidies.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
The director of one of the daycares Shirley visits in the video speaking to NBC affiliate Care 11, saying his center is operational and that employees are now getting threats.
A lot of people are not feeling safe.
The Justice Department has been running sprawling fraud investigations across multiple social service programs in Minnesota for years, starting during the Biden administration. Some of those charged have included members of the state's large Somali community, which has led to President Trump ramping up his rhetoric.
We always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster.
It's rhetoric when it goes against your narrative. That's it. When it goes against the narrative of your narrative of this is racist, this is Islamic phobic. It's rhetoric, right? What he says is rhetoric because it doesn't affect your pockets and it attacks your narrative. I noticed that it's always rhetoric on mainstream media when it attacks their narrative and their positioning. Crazy.
Federal prosecutors estimate the total amount of fraud in Minnesota could top $9 billion. State officials have pushed back on that number, saying it's nowhere near that high. Peter?
Gabe, it also comes as we're getting new details about an explosion in Venezuela amid the president's campaign there. What more do we know?
Yes, Peter. 2 eyewitnesses in northwestern Venezuela in an area known for drug trafficking tell NBC News that they saw an explosion on December 18th that destroyed a hut that possibly was used for storage. One of them saying they've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, he's giving them hell in Venezuela, and he's holding them to the fire. If you think the Venezuelan government isn't corrupt, leave a comment below. I'm curious to see what you believe in it, if you even have an opinion concerning it. Because what I'm seeing right now, Trump has exposed mainstream America, which a lot of times isn't involved on the international side. Mostly what's happening in their local communities, maybe statewide, and definitely nationally. But he is raining hell on Venezuela right now. He is holding them to the fire to the point that his Venezuela, their president, wants to play the big bad anti-Trump, liberating governor, president for the people, but it's not carrying any weight. Now, I always ask, you got to follow the money. Always say you got to follow the money. Excuse me. Always say you got to follow the money, because when you have congressmen and politicians that rise up and they say, we got to hold Trump accountable. Okay. We got to hold him accountable. Somebody's calling me about do oneself clause. Interesting. Hold them accountable. Hold Trump accountable. Hold all of them. They don't take the extra time to investigate what they're actually talking about, or they downplay it so big. So big. So I think he should continue giving hell to Venezuela. And one of the reasons I feel keeping this going and keeping this a conversation piece around what's happening in Minnesota is very important, largely because we're dealing with a mindset, in my opinion, more than an ideology, more than individuals. It's less about If anything, it has nothing to do with the color and more to do with where do they place America in the hierarchy of allegiances. Is there more allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood? Is there more allegiance to the Somalian community, Somalia as a whole, Somaliland? Somaliland, is it more allegiance there than to the United States? And that is the thing when it comes to the conversion of immigrants coming into Western society and not assimilating to Western society in any way, shape, or form. As someone who has an immigrant background, I love, it's great, West Africa, different places. People didn't like when I said, Trump was right about a bunch of shithole countries. Yeah, there are. There's a lot of shithole countries in West Africa, and they don't give two flying Fs about the people that live there. So you need to stop painting this as some type of thing. You live in the most strongest, biggest, freest country in the world. Nothing can change that. Well, things can change that if you let this craziness run, but you can't deny that and act like it's not true. It's not, and it's not America's fault that it's like that. You got leaders in these countries that do shit things, just like Venezuela. So they do need to have some foothill or heel against their neck. Talk to the people of those countries. Don't talk to your don't believe your propaganda machine. Talk to the people that left there. So when Somalians come here, any immigrant, this is not just Somalia. This is for any immigrant coming to the United States legally. I can't even talk about the illegal portion because your ass is not supposed to even be here. So let's just talk to the legal ones, okay? Because these are the ones that are actually getting, like Ilhan Omar, getting put in positions, their family came or they grew up here, or however, getting put in positions and not advocating for, in any level, under this, any level of patriotism for the country. Now, even looking in the black community, we say patriotism. What, how can we deal? What do you mean patriotism? The country did this, the country did that. Yes. America's never been a perfect place. We are only able to rise and fall based on the people that we have in authority, that they uphold the Constitution, uphold the Bill of Rights, uphold these things that have been put in place. Okay. And then when they don't, it's our job to remove them. But to believe that people like Trump right now calling attention to what's taking place in Somalia is anything less than patriotic, to me, is insanity. It is the requirement for every immigrant entering this country to now begin to assimilate to Western society. You can't go to China, live in China, and not assimilate to Chinese society, Asian society. You can't even go to they're doing it in the UK. We see that already. You can't go to Africa and think that you're going to live in Ghana, like some black people want to run away to Ghana. They think or you want to run to South America, Belize. You think that's the answer, the cure-all to all your issues. No, you can't go there and do what the hell you want to do when you want to do it and think that you're living in their culture and you have these freedoms, these rights, and these liberties, and go as far as to wave the American flag in their culture. They will look at you, and call you crazy. Oh, no. Yeah. They're going to say, hey, you, come over here. Let me whip your ass. Okay? And you're going to wonder, I'm an American. Why are they doing this to me?
Amazing. Incredible. Outstanding. Amazing.
Because you think that you can do it and that's okay. You think that the world around us revolves and moves like the United States does. No, you forget that we set the pace and they follow. Okay? And they recognize certain things that we do that's stupid and they wouldn't let it happen. And one thing is letting a foreigner national coming to their country claim citizenship, and then commence to convert their society to reflect where they came from. That's my biggest problem with the Somalian community. That's my biggest problem with any immigrant that comes here and doesn't want to assimilate to Western culture. That's why I say the Muslim Brotherhood has no place in Western culture. Islam is challenged by Western culture because the way we do things in the West, 250 years, we're still here. We've only had one civil war. We've been a part of multiple world wars, World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, in maintaining, sustaining society, the global economy. I damn well say America's done its part, okay? So it has earned the right for immigrants to come here and to look like, to evolve, to assimilate to this Western society that they believe economically is the way out, and they're coming here for freedom to express their religion, freedom to live, to grow, to build a family. Why not assimilate to the society? Why not? Why not?
Omar Fattah is a Somalian immigrant who's running for mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And recently, he just held a rally. You want to know what he said? Take a look.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Somalia. Somalia. Hiran State.
So this is how you begin your pep rally for your Western position, leadership position as a mayor of a Western city. You start by calling a foreign entity out. And after you've called the foreign nation out, then you say, oh, America, right? You start with all the flags and the color for your foreign country behind you. And then you put this one little twinky dink flag of America. And because you're not catering to Americans, you're catering to more Somalians in the borders of America, establishing their own sovereign way of doing business, feeding off the federal government at the same time to finance their exploits locally and over the water. Okay? That's how you start it?
Early voting November 4. I need your...
Here's my question. This is a Somalian man running for office in an American city, waving a Somalian flag, speaking Somalian to Somalians, telling them to vote for him, pledging loyalty to Somalia. Why isn't he in Somalia? Seriously, instead of advocating for importing tens of thousands of these people into the United States, why don't you just go live there if you love it so much? I mean, it's a genuine question. The average IQ in Somalia is 67. Why do we want more of that in America? I mean, could you imagine the uproar if a Norwegian guy was running for office in the United States and he was waving the Norwegian flag, speaking Norwegian, pledging his loyalty to Norway, saying that he wants to bring tens of thousands of Norwegian immigrants over to get a better life? Or would people not care because they would assimilate into the culture and actually contribute to the system?
Hey, we don't never say that. Black America hasn't even spoken about that. I think if I saw a bunch of Norwegians coming here screaming for their country and wanting to live here, but waving their flags for their country, and they're planning on bringing more over. You guys talk about racism. You guys think that they're coming after you. I would be like, okay. I'll say the same damn thing. White, I don't care, Asian, you need to wave the flag of America. You don't need to wave the flag of your country to rally the support of your countrymen in a country that's not your country. I don't see how logically this makes sense.
America is if you're not pro-America, first and foremost, then you have no business being here. If you don't like this country, you can leave. No one will stop you.
That's true. We're not going to get up here and stop you. You're welcome to leave whenever you want to, how fast you choose to. Go. But this is what we're dealing with. So this is not an attack against Somalians. This is people. We're people, and all we're saying is that whether you're black, Asian, white, wave the flag of America. And don't do it like you're some type of Manchurian candidate, okay? Like, really love the place that you live and appreciate the fact that this country took you in. Don't manipulate it, abuse it, and say, okay, it took me in, now I'm going to take everything possible that I can from it. It goes back to the phrase, I think, who was it? I think Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. I think John Kennedy said this: ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? That's it. That's the simplest way to put it. If you're an immigrant, ask not what America can do for you, but what can you do for America? What can you do? I don't see any of that in Somalia, and for that reason, I will continue to cover this story. I will continue to put my foot on the neck of it. I will continue to share it, every last bit, detail, cranial, because that's borderline treason to me. You know, that's my opinion, and you may not like it. If you don't, leave a comment below. You're welcome to leave your comments. Keep it respectful, but to me, that's borderline treason. It is.
I think for some strange ass reason, immigrants, y'all Somalis think because we black, we supposed to stick with y'all. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We don't share an allegiance because I'm black. Ma'am, I'm an American. There's a big fucking difference. But Theodore Roosevelt said, it ain't but one flag. That's the American flag. He said it ain't but one motherfucking language, and that's the English language. And he said above them all, it ain't but one loyalty, undivided, explicitly, for the United States of America. If that ain't what the fuck you about, then you ain't about what I'm about. Being an American, first and only, honey. Not nothing in front of it, not no stipulations behind it. We not the same.
They not like us. You're not the same. If your allegiance is to anything outside of the United States and any country outside of the United States of America, we're not the same. You can admire where you came from, where your family came from. You can hold it in high regard. You can reach out to the people there. You can still have that community. But damn, if you cannot put America first, why are you even here? Is it the money? And if it is the money, then it's shame on the politicians and the people that say that that's okay in your party. I keep saying we're dealing with a rainbow coalition. They don't care on the Democratic side. Their vision of patriotism is different in a lot of ways. And that could be a general statement and say, hey, Leon, how do you know every last Democrat's vision is? Because when you advocate and you're not frustrated with that type of turnout for someone running for mayor of a Western country, then I can't say you're American. I can't say you care about your country. You haven't experienced what could potentially take place. No, you don't. You don't.
Kind of funny how pointing out fraud immediately makes you right wing. This story ain't about the race. It's about where the money went and who is trying to cover up the tracks. And when you start asking those questions and it points to the left wing leaders, you kind of know where the rest of the story goes. Stay level headed and keep up with the news, man, because we're going to be watching this Somali issue. We're going to watch it real close.
Some of us going to have our eyes on it. Some of y'all like to put your head in the sand and just walk away. Oh, it'll fix itself. Okay, cool. I'm not going to say it won't. It won't fix itself. Let me correct you. People who post and we talk about it, we shed light on it, will actually be the ones who fix it. You know, who actually be the ones who fix it. So, you know, hey, like, subscribe, follow for more content, please. Definitely, you can definitely share your super chats, and I will. I'll shout you out, definitely. But going back to what I was saying, the Democratic Party, I hold that at fault. Okay. Coming from a household where everybody voted Democrat because nobody took the time to actually think about what was going on. And then as time went on, hey, we don't like this. Hey, we don't like that. And then my family started to wake up to it and understand what was really taking place and change their stance and position. Okay. This issue is going to be around, I think, for a while. It's going to be for a while. We can't forget in the midterms and going in the next election, 2028, what's happening right here. We should never forget it.
I don't dislike Somali immigrants because they're black people. I dislike them because they walked into my house, were given shelter and resources, and then stole from me. That's the part that's not clocking. See, you let Democrats condition you so deeply with race language that you don't even realize how low their opinion of your intelligence is. They know they can hijack your emotions and shut down your reasoning and keep capitalizing on it. Because this isn't about people being black. This is about tens of millions of dollars being stolen through fake institutions that were supposed to house and care for children, childcare funds, American taxpayer money you worked for, and the very man you wanted to have be the vice president runs this state, allowed this to happen, and is now defending it by race baiting you. How does that not infuriate you?
And I wonder why it doesn't infuriate anyone. I wonder how we can have these arguments back and forth right now about whether Trump is right, Trump is wrong. I see these Facebook arguments like Trump is right, no, Trump is wrong, and it is hatred towards them. So where is the level of accountability? Do we even have one? Is it okay to have one? Should we have one when it comes to race? How do you decide if it's racist and it's not? How much truth do you need to see in order to know that it's not a race issue? All these are questions I kind of scratch my head and I wonder over, because if we can't even take the time to, if you guys can't look at it and see it for what it is, then what are we actually doing here? Where's the critical thinking? Okay, why doesn't that exist? I don't know. You got to tell me, because I'm beyond curious why some Black Americans are even taking this point. And I don't think it's all. I think on this Somalian issue, Black Americans, I've seen more Black Americans that are saying, hey, this is crap, they are violating, than I see any others, but they're still there. It's still that Black elite who believe that they know better than the rest of us, that we don't actually see what with our own eyeballs what's taking place right here.
I'm seeing everywhere people talking about how Nick Shirley needs security, so I need to tell this story about him, no shade. So I met him for the first time last week at Turning Point's America Fest, and I say to him, I'm like, with the work you're doing, have you started taking a security team yet? And he looks at me and he goes, why would I need a security team? And I'm like, because people want to off you, because you are exposing corruption and people don't like that. And then he looks at me, looks at my 2 security guards, then he points at me, he goes, you don't have hands or something? I was like, oh, bitch, do you have hands? And he goes, yup, with full confidence. And I was like, you know what, period. Just letting y'all know, if y'all see Nick Shirley, don't try it, because he has hands and he may whoop your ass.
He a pretty tall kid also. He looked like he could probably probably get down, like he get down. Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. For real, don't you run up on Nick Shirley talking no schmack. You gonna get you whipped. That's a fact. And yeah. Don't do that. He not like Dave Chappelle. He don't need anybody run on stage to defend him, it looks like. Okay, cool. Dig it. Man, let's take this over to Fulton County. Man, Atlanta. I love you, Atlanta. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not a hater of Atlanta any way, shape, or form. I love this city. It's some negative stuff about Atlanta, bad things that I hate about the city, but for a large part, I do like Atlanta. I do like it. I love how Georgia transitions in different seasons, that you can get so many different things from it. But I guess those people in California probably feel the same way about Cali. That's why they stay in there too, right? Hold on. I was about to jump on this play talking about what's taking place with the voter issue in Atlanta. But now I got to talk about Cali. California. I got to go into Cali. Let me slow this down. I got to go back into Cali. Listen, I got to go into Cali. When I saw this, and now every state, all your blue states are on a chopping block. Cali being the next one up. because we saw Minnesota, the people in Minnesota, they say go over, people in Ohio say come over here for Somalians. But I think there's also a very large rumbling that's taking place about California. How much fraud California has from 2020 all the way up until now, probably prior to 2020. The level of fraud, you guys, you got to understand this. I say when you came at Trump, you opened the gates for every person who admired Trump, who thought what was happening was wrong to stand up. And you left yourself wide open because when Trump, people didn't get it. I said it. When he came into power, heads will roll. They said no kings, right? Heads will roll. Yes, it will. Oh, no. And we're seeing this, and we're only in the first year of this. Only in the first year. This, oh my gosh. They coming after Cali, and I think they should, because they need to push on Cali. Gavin Newsom is a fraud, okay? He is fake. He's phony. His smile is phony. He starts a podcast after he realizes, damn, I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that podcast YouTube thing. I'll never get elected in an office if I'm not doing that podcast YouTube thing. I need to invite people. Let's talk to everybody. They coming for you next, Cali.
Tech elite are angry over a potential wealth tax in the Golden State.
You know what? Before I even get into that, man, check that out. Okay, look, I was about to jump on the wealth tax. I like that wealth tax. Yeah. Hold on, before we even get into wealth, which one is this? The one right here?
Charge in California. So here's.
Yeah. No. This is not. Oh, okay. I didn't pull that other story, but we do see the fraud in Cali. Because Cali's going after billionaires now, right? They're going after billionaires. This is one I need to see this.
Tech elite are angry over a potential wealth tax in the Golden State. The heated debate played out largely on X, where some tech leaders have called out Silicon Valley Congressman Ro Khanna for supporting the idea. Y Combinator's Gary Tan has even called for a primary challenge for Ro Khanna. In a statement, Congressman Khanna's office said he has always supported a modest wealth tax on billionaires to deal with staggering inequality and to make sure people have health care, while also advocating for common sense workarounds. Joining us now, Ben Narrison, founder of Tenacity Venture Capital. This is just such a multifaceted.
I want to go to another story that I got, man. I want to go to another one. Okay, so let me bring it up to speed. California is proposing a wealth tax. I think they voted on it already. I'm not 100% sure. I think they have. On billionaires. Okay. Now, California already has its issues when it comes to fraud, massive overspending, upside down, obliterated budget. The weather's nice though. The weather's very nice in Cali. I guess that's what they believe people will stay because of the great weather. Forget about the taxes, the great weather. So they're appealing now to the masses, and who would say no to this? Who the miseducated would, of course, the uneducated would, which is the base of a lot of what's going on there. That's why you've got a lot of craziness taking place. They agree that billionaires need to have an additional tax placed on them. Why? Because they make so much damn money, we need to tax them. Now, I've always had the opinion, I become a billionaire. Yes, come for me, I'm going to come for you. Okay? I don't even feel like becoming a millionaire. I become a millionaire, blah, yeah. Okay? Same thing. I'm going to come for you. You're not going to tax the heck. Why is that idea, that way of thinking, even polarizing to some people? Especially when they say, oh, well, you're not a billionaire, you're not a millionaire, why should you even care? Well, if you don't care about your future self, let's care about your current self and look at what employs your current self. Most people are employed by Fortune 500 companies. I think the last time I saw, large corporations make up somewhere between 70% 75% of the job creation. Is it? No. Flip flop. Large corporations, now we're talking about sheer numbers. Of course, smaller corporations under 500 they outnumber large corporations. But large corporations are the largest employers of middle income America. Think about it. Large corporations are the largest employer of middle income America. Middle income America isn't composed largely of self-employed people, even though we do have a good amount of self-employed people, whether they're realtors, doctors, attorneys, and so forth. But we have a large portion of, and you said, Leon, how are they middle income? Because there's some lawyers and people that don't make money like you think they make money. But now we see coming after billionaires who employ a large portion of middle income America will only do one thing. And I was telling my wife this. We were talking. My wife brought this up. She brought a good point. Now we put them in a position to turn around and to raise prices on goods and services, which take more money out of the middle income and in some middle America, and in some cases eliminate jobs. We see it already with AI. AI is already, in my opinion, going to be the death of some of these major businesses that think that is smart. Billionaires, I'm sorry, this is for you too. Wealthy people, job creators, outside of the one or two that I create. No, real job creators. You guys, you end up, when you eliminate the middle class through switching over to AI and technology like that, you eventually drain your pockets. And this is the other portion to it. When they turn around and impose taxes on billionaires who create jobs, they turn around and now dwindle the middle class. It's going to be less middle class. Either they bring back in the jobs by paying them less money, or they cut the positions, period, or they turn around and raise the price on goods and services, so it just offsets. You don't never tax billionaires. You actually end up taxing the average people when you pursue billionaires. I don't know, that was a lot, but that's a fact. You end up now affecting the pockets of people that are just middle income America, lower income America. That's why I say when you do things like tax Jeff Bezos, and you're like, he's got Amazon, he's a billionaire, he can afford to pay it. The way that it's written, the billionaires won't pay it. They just turn around and the quality, the good, the service, the value that they provided to you, they raise the price on that value. That's what you say.
California. So here's
who's in charge of California? It's the Democrats, and so under the Democratic process,
you probably don't know much about my show. I'm incredibly critical of Democrats on my program as well. So,
great, except not tonight.
Okay. Well, I just was about Biden.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have Democrats in charge, and rather than looking at their own budget and saying perhaps we're doing things a little lopsided, perhaps we're not spending money in a frugal enough way for our state. They don't do that at all first. They never do that. They never look inward. And the same in Washington State, where I'm from, we just also introduced a millionaire tax that's going after millionaires instead of billionaires. And what we've seen after them going after the capital gains tax, implementing it, a lot of them left, including Jeff Bezos and a lot of high-profile folks who decided to leave. You can go ahead and pretend that the folks who are billionaires merely because they got handed something to them by the Democratic establishment or the Republicans. But at the end of the day, you're not actually doing anything to help people who are in a position right now who are in fact struggling. All you're doing is punishing someone for being successful.
No, I'm sorry. The governments redistribute resources. That's what we do. And we make these choices.
And the billionaires pay a huge portion already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. It's called property taxes. It's called sales taxes. You would certainly concede that billionaires spend more in sales tax, right?
Why can my generation not afford to own a home? And that's in part because...
Okay, so she's about to put the fault of her generation not being able to buy a home or own a home in the hands of billionaires who create jobs and create wealth. So it's the billionaires' fault that they can't own a home. Now, somebody's going to say, well, billionaires created Open Door. They created OfferPad that buy up these houses and everything like that. Still is not their fault. They're taking advantage of what we have in the market, which is a free market system. You should take advantage in that free market system, increase your skills, your ability to be able to be successful. Oh, look. I love it. Increase your skills to be successful in that space and grow your own wealth. You know I'm coming. I'm probably going to like blank you out. You know I'm going to do that, right? I mean, you're about to get banned, right? You know that. And I'm trying to figure like why. Like what's the purpose? What's the purpose? What is the purpose? But what do I know? What do I know? But hey, a clown is born every day. And clowns are made for adversity.
Is it their job to buy property it for you? Ownership. No, it's not their job. It's about It's about returning.
Is it the government's job to buy it for you?
No, it's not the government's job to buy people homes.
Then
but
why does
I
the
think
government
people
need their money?
Okay, because do you agree that the government's job is to redistribute wealth,
No.
and they
No.
but they already do that. They just
Strongly
make
disagree.
choices. But
It's not the government's job to distribute wealth. That's not. The government's job is to take care of the people. The government's job is to watch out for the people. That has nothing to do with redistribution of wealth. It's not.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley. Congressman, it's not just, it would be one thing if California wants to tax the people who live there, who choose to live there, to death, but California is wasting and allowing federal taxpayer money to be stolen. And they want to act like that's not what has been going on, but I noticed that online that you responded to something that the governor was saying about money that was stolen from the original tranche of the COVID aid. And they acted like, oh, well, we implemented these fraud controls. No, they didn't. And this money, it was tens of billions of dollars that was stolen from federal taxpayers.
Well, that's exactly right. $32 billion in fraud for unemployment during COVID. No other state was even close. And yes, the federal government did advise that the state take basic fraud protection measures, and Newsom ignored that. He failed to do it, and our taxpayers suffered as a result. And by the way, this audit that just came in showed that the number of high-risk agencies in California has doubled during Gavin Newsom's tenure. It's gone from 4 to 8. And that statement you just read from him where he said, oh, this is just meant to drive corrective action. Actually, you only get that designation if the agency has failed to take corrective steps. And so, with no offense to Hochul in New York or Pritzker in Illinois or Waltz in Minnesota, but Gavin Newsom is the undisputed fraud king of the United States. California is America's fraud capital with the amount of money that gets wasted every day in this state.
Well, specifically on health care, Medicaid, Medi-Cal, or all of the various government agencies that are involved in distributing medicine, that's supposed to be the payer of last resort. The private sector is supposed to be where you first go. But the fraudsters, that is the first place they go because they know it's so easy to rip off the government, right?
Oh, exactly. And that's what the audit found when it came to Medicaid determinations, when it came to SNAP determinations. It's rife with improper payments. That doesn't include, by the way, the $10 billion the state has spent this year on free Medicaid for those who are in the state illegally.
They coming for you, Callie. They coming for you. The federal government doesn't have to subsidize what the federal government deems as being illegal. And they shouldn't. Just like with what took place with the daycare centers and the childcare in Minnesota, the federal government doesn't have to subsidize it. And that is the thing that we forget. We think that the federal government is obligated to do that because you're here. No. If they deem it and they see that it's fraud, they need to put things in place for checks and balances, but more importantly, cut it off.
Right. And it also doesn't include the $24 billion that the state lost in homelessness spending. It doesn't include the $17 or $18 billion that has been spent on a high-speed train without any track getting laid. So this is why, over 5 years of having Gavin Newsom as governor,
this is the high-speed train one. That's the one that drives me crazy.
We have seen our budget grow by $124 billion, and yet everything in California has continued to get worse.
I just want to note before we move on, Congressman, that California passed a no asset test for Medi-Cal, Medicaid. Know that if you were elderly, that rich people in the state are still dumping their elderly relatives onto Medi-Cal. There was no asset test, none. Like, you could have insurmountable amount of like stocks, home wealth, and they've had to rescind it starting January 1 of 2026 because it was such a disaster.
So what she's saying is that nobody's verified some of the people that go onto some of these government programs in California, to the point that some of the people have money, but they're still on that government program. Clearly, they don't qualify for it. I'm like, go for them too. Which to me points out how devious and demonic California has been. I'm sorry. If you're from Cali, I'm not saying that you are, but the people you put into office, they definitely are. I've always had this belief when I listen to Gavin Newsom speak that he's paid for, and I don't believe by locally. I don't believe it's locally, meaning I don't think it's some entity in the United States paying for that guy. It's got to be some foreign entity that's putting money in his pocket. He's been more concerned with being a rock star governor and famous than he's been fixing any issues. Even with the Palisades and the fire that took place, Gavin Newsom just disappeared. We know right now that in California, insurance companies have left in droves, and they're not going back. They're not going back to Cali. So Cali is one of the places you don't want to buy in. This is one of the places you don't want to own in. If you own real estate in California, I really pray for you right now. I'm sorry for you. If you can't sell it and leave, that's a bad place to be in. You can always come to Georgia. You get a whole lot more for your money. Okay. But Cali's going to be the next one on a chopping block. Don't think that they're going to get away with it. Don't think that the Trump administration has forgotten about that. I believe they're taking care of what's happening in Minnesota, but California getting federal funds is soon going to become a thing of the past.
Well, under Gavin Newsom, that is a very familiar story. And now the latest proposal is they want to...
Or at the very least, very hard to come upon.
Impose a wealth tax on billionaires, which is going to just send people leaving California and will cause our state's entire financial structure to collapse. And again, even if it worked as intended and brought in billions more dollars, that would just at the end of the day be more opportunity for fraudsters.
Well, the thing about the wealth tax is, first of all, capital can move. You're not forced to live in California. You can leave if you're being taxed to death, and that's exactly what's happened. Whether it's a country that has a wealth tax, that's why most of those countries in Europe that used it got rid of it very quickly, or whether it's a state, and you're still experiencing that exodus, the tax exodus from your state, right?
Exactly, and this has been very precisely measured in terms of how much revenue California has had to give up because of people leaving. In fact, for 4 straight years in California, we led the nation in outbound U-Haul rentals. California's population continued to grow since 1850. It was only with Gavin Newsom as governor that it began to decline. And here's the important thing to note, is that in California, the top 1% of earners can account for up to 50% of tax revenue. And so when you send those folks out of the state, then that can actually cause our entire financial setup to collapse. It's one of the reasons California has been running these.
Wow. So the top 1%, let's repeat that. So we're crystal clear on what they're planning on doing.
Those folks out of the state, then that can actually cause our entire financial setup to collapse. Led the nation in outbound U-Haul rentals. California's population continued to grow since 1850. It was only with Gavin Newsom as governor that it began to decline. And here's the important thing to note, is that in California, the top 1% of earners can account for up to 50% of tax revenue. And so when you send those folks out of the...
And that's the problem. Like, they're creating issues for us. They're creating issues for the United States. They're creating issues for every last resident of California. You're like, dude, this is how you become just like Chicago. Like, Chicago has that issue right now where they're trying to find this budget money, and that means they're raising property taxes. I think upwards of about 135% was the last report that I saw, affecting Lincoln Heights and some of those other places. When you push money out, when you are mad at money and you're mad at business, you're mad at capitalism, you're mad at consumer capitalism, and when you push and you attack it and they have to leave, you don't incentivize them to stay. It becomes harder for people to buy homes, to build families in a place where they're taxed crazy. Like if they're taxed. That's why Georgia has grown the way that it is. Georgia has sensible taxing, whether people like it or not. And it's incentivized up until this whole play with the movie industry to move to where overseas, has incentivized businesses coming to Georgia. Cali's not like that. Cali believes because they are Cali and the weather's good, that they can tax these people in order to make them stay because of good weather.
Oh no!
You do the math for yourself. Leave a comment if you feel what I'm saying is off the wall. But I believe that's the fastest way to now end up taking your state into bankruptcy. But you guys are electing these guys in office, so you get what you get right now. I wonder how this is going to play out, because since they're so adamantly against Trump, they're just totally against it. Keep in mind, these are politicians, not business people, making these decisions. All right, let's go over to Atlanta. Let's go back to Atlanta. Let's go to Atlanta, man. Okay. Now, Atlanta, when this story dropped, this was really, all I can say is Trump was right. That's all you can say is Trump was right. If you listen to this, you can only say Trump is right. That's it.
Fulton County made a stunning admission about the 2020 election. After almost 5 years of assuring voters all procedures were followed, it turns out that may not be entirely true. Now they face some steep fines from the state elections board. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live tonight at the state capitol, where this all came out earlier this month. Doug.
Yeah, good evening, Blair. And those fines could crest $1 million if the state elections board gets exactly what they're asking for. Fulton County essentially admitted that there were unsigned tabulator tapes. Those are those pieces of paper akin to receipts that come out of the voting tabulation.
Hold on. Wasn't Fani and the rest of them dragging Trump and when he said that it was a setup and when he said that there was fraud in this election, all of a sudden, a year later, we mysteriously decide and we figure out that the tabulator tapes were not signed. And this is well into about 300,000. This is well into about 300,000 votes, right?
Machines that help them verify how many people voted and to make sure that it actually matches the number of votes that were cast. Those are unsigned, and that violates state law. The board also admitted that they were missing some documents tied to 2020.
But it's a violation of a rule. They should have done it.
A stunning admission earlier this month from an attorney representing Fulton County's election board.
The tapes that are an issue in this case have been produced. They just weren't signed.
The ticker tapes she's talking about, shown here, are almost like receipts spit out by voting tabulators on election night. State law says they must be signed by poll workers for verification, but some...
Oh, okay. So if the poll workers did not sign these tapes to verify that the individuals who cast these votes are individuals that can vote in that state, oh my gosh, they can. The reason why, and I've seen this when I go to vote, being in Georgia, the ticker tape comes out, you sign it, you give it to them, they look at your ID, oh, verify, blah, blah, and they're on their way. So the poll workers are supposed to verify this.
150 tapes tracking the votes of some 315,000 people during early voting in 2020 weren't signed.
At best, this is sloppy.
350, 15, did he say 15 or 50? 350? What? Wow.
Voting in 2020 weren't signed.
At best, this is
Hold on. Let me. I didn't go far enough. This is crazy.
People during early voting in 2020 weren't signed.
At best,
I keep missing this.
is
I keep
slop.
missing. I keep missing. Let me go all the way back. This is crazy.
Seats spit out by voting tabulators on election night. State law says they must be signed by poll workers for verification, but some 150 tapes tracking the votes of some 315,000 people during early voting in 2020 weren't signed.
At best, this is sloppy and it's lazy. At worst, it could be egregious and it could have affected an election.
Some other ticker tapes.
It could have affected the election. Sis, it did affect the election.
Documents tied to the 2020 election were also missing, the county said. The revelation made waves nationally. Even Elon Musk posted about it. Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger assured it wouldn't have altered the results of the election that was audited and verified several times over. Raffensperger posting online, quote, "A clerical error at the end of the day does not erase valid legal votes."
A clerical error could be one tabulator tape not signed or one tabulator tape missing, not 148 tabulator tapes missing.
Garland Favorito, who runs the conservative watchdog group Voter GA, said the admission is disturbing to people who've had doubts about the 2020 election for years.
It's not vindication. It's just about accuracy and in the integrity and security of future elections.
And that wasn't it for Fulton County this month. Just last Friday, a judge down the hill here ruled that they have to turn over images of ballots from 2020. It was something they had been fighting the state elections board on for well over a year. We're outside the state capitol. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
Ooh. Oh, man, it's about to be a snowstorm. And, you know, I think the reason why we haven't seen this publicized so heavy on national news is because they're so focused on Minnesota and what's taking place in Minnesota. So nobody's really looking at this. It's flying, but it's flying under the radar very much. Now, I want you to consider this. He's like, Leon, you're you know, everybody's tripping. Consider this right here. I'm gonna put this up here real quick. All right, Trump. 2,663,000 votes. Harris, 2,548,000 votes. This was what, 2020, as of 2025. This is the voting layout as of 2025. Okay. This gave Trump Georgia. We know, we saw that. But this blue part right here, this is all Fulton County, Atlanta. This is all Fulton County. Probably, Fulton County is the most heavily populated county in Georgia. More people per what is it? Well, heavily populated per capita, right? Heavily populated. Yes, he won Georgia, but what happened in Fulton County? What happened in Fulton County? I say it again, like, they playing with you, man. They playing with us.
Next case, Fulton County tabulation issue 2022-015. Fulton County is the respondent. Is there a representative of Fulton County? Yes. Afternoon.
This is my good afternoon for the next 10 or 15 cases.
Yeah. Sticking with you here.
I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. Since 2020, again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and new standard operating procedures. And since then.
Oh, you know what? I'll take it back. What I showed you was 2024. That's 2024. I believe in 2020. If I'm correct, 2020, he didn't win it. 2020. That's why we had Biden going in office. So when I see this straight violation going back to 2020, my God, bro, I can't believe this. This is insane.
Fulton County in Georgia is under scrutiny after it emerged that some early votes from 2020 election were not signed by poll workers. Writing on X, various commentators allege voter fraud. The allegations came after on December 9th hearing before the Georgia State Election Board. Ann Brumbaugh, attorney for Fulton County Board of Registration Elections, said that some of the ballots were counted lacked required poll worker signature during the 2020 election. Vote tabulation tapes are signed to verify the accuracy of votes before they are transported to a central office and used for auditing the ballot, because there is no evidence that the ballots were not legitimate because they weren't signed. And some commentators noted that this was procedural lapse. A recounted hand audit of ballots in Georgia at the time confirmed Joe Biden won the debate. In the hearing, the lawyer said did not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rules. She said President Trump and his allies have consistently claimed without evidence that the 2020 election was stolen from President Joe Biden, did not win in Georgia and other states. Trump claimed that the ballots were duplicated and that there were other voter fraud issues in the county. Vinny, what have you learned about the story?
and Humberto,
this is a Newsweek story I just read.
Yeah, I put it in to Rob's Slack. You'll see the girl in court, and she's admitting to it. Look at the Slack that I Slack Rob. But I want everybody to remember, not only was Trump saying it, when we were all saying it, when you were watching, voting. Yes, thanks. Humberto, hold on 1 second. When we were talking about cheating in Georgia, and this is Fannie Willis, this whole situation, okay? And let's not forget, Joe Biden won Georgia by 11,779 votes, okay? Now, 5 years later, they're admitting 315,000 votes were illegally counted.
So Trump administration they're gonna sue him concerning that. They're gonna sue him. They're gonna not just sue him, man. I think they're gonna come at him really hard, because they're saying that this didn't affect any type of outcome results, but it's clear. You can see, and I'm pulling it up myself while I'm talking to you. You can clearly see that 315,000 votes that weren't verified. Wow. That's insane, because Trump got 137,000 votes. Joe Biden got 381,000 votes. Damn. What is this? This for 2020. Wow. And I'm not even making it up. Look at that. Not even making it up. This is for 2020. Huh. All I'm going to say is Trump was right. He was right. I don't know how this guy found out and figured this thing out, but he was right. Spot on right. Man, he nailed it. He really nailed it. Woo. All right. So Atlanta has also been showing up nationally. There was 400 kids, and I don't know if it's because this is a holiday season, 400 children at Atlantic Station. Now, Atlantic Station, I spoke about Atlantic Station. Atlantic Station's that area in Georgia where you've got a work, play, live community. Couple high rises, I think 2 or 3 high rises. Midtown Atlanta, easy to jump on, to get an Uber and Uber right into. You've got other communities around there that isn't Atlantic Station. You know, they don't have the money. It's not a rich area. It's midtown. It's businesses, fine dining, hanging out in condos that you hang out at, and great shopping. But if you know anything like about Atlanta and the city of Atlanta, you've got a lot of residential, and you do have a lot of what YNs running around that much. But man, I tell you what, 400 children just this past 2 days ago. Crazy fights. Now, there's a thing I think that probably we've got to have nationally as someone that has 3 children. Parents do need to be held accountable for your bad behind children showing up in places like Atlantic Station and just causing and wreaking havoc. Okay. That's the reason why people like me, some of my friends, my wife, we don't even go to Atlantic Station. We wouldn't even be court down there in Atlantic Station, even though I would love to chill down there for a little bit. And I mean, you got a skating ring down there. You got some cool restaurants. We can't go or wouldn't go, one, unless we're strapped. And 2, even if we're strapped, we wouldn't go because who wants to go down there and still deal with a bunch of chaos and craziness? So Atlanta's dealing with the homeless issue, and then they're dealing with this YN out of control issue. And it's getting worse.
Atlanta police say parents could now face charges after hundreds of teenagers caused chaos at the Atlantic Station. So this is video. This is from Saturday night showing fights unfolding and customers running for their lives. Police said that they first responded to Atlantic Station after 7 p.m. when someone set off fireworks and found about 400 unsupervised kids.
What we did not see were parents of any of the 400 juveniles, children that were present. And as we continue to address this issue and make adjustments to keep this area safe, we must be joined by parents knowing where their children are, ensuring they are under proper supervision of adults and are abiding by the law.
You know, officers moved the teenagers from Atlantic Station property, pushing them all the way towards the 17th Street Bridge, and that's where police say 2 guns were fired just before 10 p.m. Now, APD says that it actually detained 5 teenagers responsible for firing those weapons. The ages, the youngest one is 14, and then 15, 16, and 17 years old. Now, the department says parents found not have violated the city's ordinance of proper supervision will now face charges. And when it comes to Atlantic Station, the CEO says that it enforces a strict youth curfew starting at 3 p.m. The CEO has not addressed how 400 unsupervised teenagers were allowed on the property Saturday night.
Now, what they're not saying also is 2 kids were actually shot. One, and 2 of them passed. And I did a video where you have video footage of at least 12 or 13 of them leaving the scene. Didn't even know their buddy that came with them got shot. Okay. There has to be a place where these parents are held accountable, like where parents got to know where their children are. And when you're talking about high school children, is different than when you talk about any other age, because at that age of high school, I know how much shit I was getting into. I know what I was doing. Okay. And fortunately, I had martial arts, which curved a lot of that. A lot of these kids don't have that. Okay. And if it wasn't for things like martial arts or these activities, I probably would have been out there too. And they would have been contacting my mom. Hey, we got to bring charges against you. I learned from growing up that we got to keep an eye on our children because she did the best she could as a single parent. And I'm sure out of those 400 children, you have a lot of single mothers and single parents that were there. But, you know, I had a father in the house up until for a large part. But still, there still needs to be a level of accountability because these parents don't realize that things like this affect property values, the safety of people that live in that area, okay? And they don't care. So there has to be something to make them care about other people. And that is a shame to say that. You figure the days of caring about what other people are experiencing from your chaos has long gone, you know? And that's what we have over here in Atlantic Station, okay? But this is a big issue, and if nobody says anything about it, it's going to persist.
Badass teenagers that I just saw running around Atlantic Station with no adult supervision wearing ski masks was truly shocking. Cops everywhere. What is happening? Y'all need to get y'all children and y'all need to figure something out, baby. I ain't been to Atlantic Station in a while and I ain't going back.
I said it. I'm not going back for a while also, you know?
Away from me, part 2. Bonnets, robes, and house slippers in public. Big ass lashes, colorful wigs, and long nails. Approaching people in public because what they said about you on social media. Handling all your conflicts with fighting and trying to unalive someone. Being impatient in establishments because you believe you more important than other customers. Hanging out at gas stations or convenience stores early in the morning or at night. Calling your homegirls bitches and calling your homeboys the N-word. Blasting loud music everywhere you go, even in quiet environments. Keep that ghetto shit away from
Keep it away from me too. This is why I don't go to Atlantic Station. Okay. So there are some places right now, and it's a shame when you come to Atlanta. We would want people to actually see how great the city is, but you got craziness.
From Atlanta, I'm gonna tell you one place you do not want to go. I know y'all be talking about Young Thug, this, young. Do not come out here to Cleveland Avenue trying to find out where Young Thug grew up at. You see that payphone right there? Anywhere you see a payphone, boy, you know it's the hood. You feel me? Look here. These folks still got payphones out here on Cleveland Avenue. You see that payphone, boy? See that payphone right there? This shit real, so real payphone. Do not come to Cleveland Avenue, boy, trying to see where Young Thug grew up at, boy, because it's ugly out here. It's the worst part of Atlanta, boy. The worst part, I promise you. You see that street sign right there, Metropolitan and Cleveland Avenue. One side is E Point, the other side is Atlanta. Out there is the gutter. Do not come out here if you're not from Atlanta. Period. Y'all, that's on everything.
Oh, man, I tell you. There's some places in Atlanta you shouldn't visit. And they're making Atlanta Station be just like one of those places you should not visit. And that is the worst. It is the worst, man. It is definitely the worst. All right, cool. Let me pull this up right now. When I said that we're going to see more and more squatters, I'm not playing with it like I'm being for real. Now, this is one of the things, this squatter epidemic is going to grow the more we see real estate doesn't move and sellers want to leave this stuff on the market for longer periods of time.
For a month, Spotlight on Maryland has been investigating incidents of alleged squatting across the state and the impact on local neighborhoods.
Tonight, Gary Collins' investigation takes him to a Washington, D.C. suburb where residents are demanding action.
Yeah, we've heard about squatters in the news. Never thought it would be next door to, where we all grew up.
James O., a man who grew up in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood in Bethesda, is one neighbor of nearly an entire block who has contacted Spotlight on Maryland to investigate an alleged squatter takeover of a $2.3 million property on Burning Tree Road. For fear of safety, O asked to only be identified by the first letter of his last name. They contacted us after seeing our ongoing investigation into the squatting epidemic in the state.
All started around 4th of July weekend, and there were the house that we're talking about was up for sale, and we heard there was a new buyer that was interested. Sounded like they were going to close around that period of time, and some new people moved in.
O said the tight-knit community quickly suspected the new neighbors were not the actual new home buyers, but suspected squatters. They made contact with the occupants, who they identified as Tamika Good and Corey Pollard.
We were aware that the sale had not closed, and the new occupants were unlawfully occupying the building.
How did this all start? How did this all happen?
The bank foreclosed on the previous owners because they were in default on their mortgage.
John, another Bethesda neighbor to the suspected squatter house, pointed us to court records on how the property initially became vacant. The man's real name is being withheld by his request for fear of his safety. According to Maryland property records, the property is currently owned by City Mortgage. Court records show a foreclosure for the property was granted in early 2025. Citigroup filed with Montgomery County District Court for Good and all the mansion's occupants to vacate, saying it has come to our attention that you have wrongfully and properly and illegally entered and are occupying the premise, adding your actions constitute a breaking and entering home invasion, and you and all occupants are wrongfully trespassing. Yet another property neighbor, court records show, filed several criminal charges against Good and Pollard, including trespassing. On December 8th, Pollard was arrested in the mansion's driveway. As a result of the arrest, Pollard is now facing extradition to Pennsylvania to face multiple luxury vehicle theft charges for allegedly stealing cars from a Lancaster dealership parking lot.
So they stealing cars and stealing houses. Oh my God. listen, guys, this squatter situation is going to get more and more deeper the more money becomes challenging to come by for some people. Okay. But still, this is the first time I've ever seen stealing houses and cars at the same time.
It has a lengthy court record, including a federal case involving transporting stolen vehicles from Pennsylvania and Delaware and possessing more than 100 grams of heroin.
Hey, y'all, what's up? It's your favorite pro se litigation coach.
Meanwhile, Good, claiming to be a financial and pro se litigation coach on social media accounts that have also appeared in court records, missed her court date this week for trespassing and burglary charges related to the Bethesda mansion.
Wanted to show you guys something real fast. I always talk about how the devil is in the details and how when you get these documents, you have to go through them with a fine-tooth comb.
This TikTok post from April advertises a rental package for $500 for a limited time, with a screenshot of what appears to be a lease welcoming letter.
After speaking to the neighbors, we decided to try to make contact with the people inside the house.
After knocking multiple times and hearing a dog bark, but then silence, we left a business card asking for the occupants, including Good, to contact.
Man, I've had enough of this. I had enough of this. We're in a season right now, guys, where I truly believe this is the season, a period where God is trying to speak to a lot of people. Because what's really interesting is we don't have these type of spiritual connecting situations with God until we're up against the wall and we need him. You're going to see a lot of people doing some very strange off the wall things. It's going to require a certain level of discernment so you don't get yourself involved in that too, regardless how much money or any type of place you need to live. So know that in this season, when we see more and more of these squatters, more and more of these scammers, more and more of these people who steal luxury cars and do all these crazy things, I'm seeing more about crypto. You got to look inwardly, see where God wants you to go and maneuver and navigate off of that. Don't put yourself in this position where you're imitating people like that or you think that that's okay. And it's easy when things are going good, when everything's all right. It becomes more challenging as we get deeper and deeper into a season where I think you're going to see a lot more crap that come out. And don't let that be the stumbling block, because this is just a cycle. And when this cycle is done, if you put yourself in a position now, you can benefit from the upswing in this cycle, which is going to come. I'm going to keep saying this. Money isn't made. We don't find deals in real estate when things are great. We find it when it's bad. We find deals in the stock market when it's bad. That's why you have, what's his name? Warren Buffett, who's considered a discount, a value investor. What that means is he's looking for where there's bleeding, where there's discomfort, to take advantage of the situation. Now, some people don't like that, but it is true, because you either have people that over leveraged or people that shouldn't have even been there to begin with. So as we get more and more into that season, we have to be cautious and conscious of it, and know that we can either sit back and be the person that says, I'm hit, I'm wounded, somebody help me out. Or we can be the people that says, where's the opportunity so I can find a way to get up? Legit opportunities that are out here, because there's going to be blood in the water. Okay. If you have a property that's listed on the market, check it daily. If you can't get there every day, have the realtor check it out. Find some way to actually make sure that this doesn't happen to you. Because this is a $2.5 million house. Even though it's taken from the bank, the squatters are still there. And if somebody wanted to buy this, there's still going to be a process of getting it from the bank, getting the squatters out, that could actually help that community, or it can drive it down. However, you choose to look at it. But I truly believe that's a big thing. All right. I'm probably going to make this the last story. I don't know. We'll probably get out of here in a little bit. Check this out. So what I keep saying about AI and I keep saying about the market, we're in a different place, which is very, very different. We're going back to a blue collar led society, not a white collar perpetrating society, meaning kids will actually go to school and should go to school to learn functional skills, trades that can't easily just be picked up anywhere. That takes time. Okay. That now creates value for them in the marketplace, even as AI starts to grow.
The AI revolution has forever reshaped how we manufacture products, how we receive medical care, and even how we create art.
3 seasons and a podcast.
The transformation prompting many to wonder, what will it mean for the job market?
Everyone's jobs will change because of AI.
Here in Grand Prairie, Texas, it means opportunity for young workers as skilled electricians. Consulting firm McKinsey estimates an additional 130,000 electricians will be needed by 2030 to build out data centers and manufacturing facilities to power all that new technology.
People are always going to need electricians.
Michael Sampa is one of more than 600 students enrolled at the North Texas Electrical Training Center, a Learn While You Earn program that combines in-classroom instruction.
This is the total volume we have, 1.8.
With paid on-the-job training.
What attracted you to training to be an electrician?
I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after high school, but somebody had told me to look into trades. I could make money while I'm learning, and then I can also be guaranteed a job once I finish.
What has it been like being in the classroom and then also out in the field?
I love it. We go through the books, and then we do hands-on work.
Michael even giving me a quick wiring lesson.
I got it. There we go.
Workers aged 22 to 27 are facing a 7.4% unemployment rate. But tech companies are investing heavily in AI. Google providing more than $10 million in funding to electrician training centers like this.
That's
$10 million in funding. So if your children are out here and they're graduating from high school and they're trying to figure out what to do and you're trying to figure out what to do with them, I think this is going to be probably one of the most lucrative spaces to be in as we move forward in the next 5 to 10 years. Trades, plumbing is another one also. HVAC, another one up there too. Great trades to be a part of, to be in. It's changing now. It used to be where they would frown on it and people would look down on it. But if you can come out, and I've seen reports where people have come out in these trades and they're coming out to 125, 130,000. I've seen 85,000, 98,000. That's still very big, because if you consider it, even if you're spending 20,000 to get that trade, 25,000 to get that trade, your amount that you spent in your education is a quarter of what you're actually coming out on average and making. Great trade-off, because if you're coming out making 100,000, you're not really making 100,000. What is it? You're probably at 66,000. But to know you only spent 25K and you will always be in demand, and you can do work outside of that too, because you have the licensing and designation, you've changed the game. Not even talking about adding any content on top of that you can easily do on YouTube, which I've seen electricians do, which run up hundreds of thousands of views. Okay. So don't be in a place where you think that this economy is going to hold anybody back. I believe it's the people that are resourceful, the people that are now willing to change how things have been done traditionally, meaning they're not sitting back feeling some type of way because they're not getting their degree, but they're looking at this trade knowing that they can still get their degree down the line, but this trade will end up paying them like immediately. And that's a big thing.
Going to increase the electrical workforce pipeline by 70% within the next 5 years.
It's almost as if the AI revolution has a little sign hanging there saying, help wanted, electricians.
That's right. But the transformation really hinges on massive investment and more skilled professionals.
Electrician Scott Hewick is a general foreman and a graduate of this program.
As an electrician, it's really one of the best jobs we can get. These places use an enormous amount of power, which means a ton of work for electricians. We are installing infrastructure oftentimes that's enough to run small cities.
The abundance of work only made more attractive to apprentices like Jose Munoz by the salary prospects. Licensed electricians in Texas commanding up to $85,000 annually and over 6 figures with overtime and benefits.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
You're going to make good money in this job?
I believe I'm going to make great money in this job. And if there's overtime, I'll take it. I'm ready to work.
And it's no surprise that training center in Texas has seen a surge in its student body. Enrollment up 88% in just the last 3 years. In fact, trade schools across the board have seen increased interest as more young people look to avoid college debt and ensure a steady career.
Avoid that college debt the best that you can. Get a steady career. Keep rocking. Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. I appreciate everyone that jumps on this. You had a chance to watch it in its entirety. Super chats. Definitely, I'll shout you out for those super chats. You guys have a blessed day. New Year's Eve, I'm going to go chill with the family. You guys have a great day. Talk to you in the next live stream. Remember who you are and remember that Jesus loves you regardless of what you're going through.